Hello and welcome to A to Z Vaping. Today I got a popular clone for you, the Stingray clone. I've got the 26650 model here in black. I've also got it topped with the Tobacco Tobe Addy. This is a clone. It's the 30mm one, the larger one. It fits on there perfectly. There's just a little tiny little edge there you can barely grip with your fingernail, but it's a nice flush fit. I gotta say I'm loving it so far. I did drill out the air holes a little bit. That's for another project, though, why I had to do that. You'll find out about that about around next month, I'm thinking. I'll be able to show you why I had to do that. Also, I'm powering this today with the MNKE 3500 milliamp 20 amp batteries. I've got 4 of these from Planet of the Vapes, an eBay seller. He's a US seller that sells all different kinds of clones of mods, RDAs, and he carries name brand batteries as well. But he's got great pricing and he ships from the US, so I use him pretty often. I recommend you check him out next time you're in the market to buy something new. So thanks again to Planet of the Vapes for supplying me the batteries for this review. So these batteries have been working out great. The MNKE 20 amps. The atomizer's been working out great. My tobacco clone, I love it. I had no problems with that at all. The Stingray clone, it hits hard, it works good, blah, blah, blah. But I noticed one crucial flaw with this. So I think we're just going to dive right down into the breakdown, tear this thing apart, show you what I found, show you what I think. And also, please be sure if you know anybody with a Stingray clone or perhaps even sellers that are selling Stingray clones, send them this video so they can check this too, check their stock, and make sure that everyone out there is just being safe and vaping safe. So let's dive right down now and do that teardown. Alright, so we're going to take apart this Stingray clone now. We're going to start at the top and work our way down. First thing you're going to notice at the top is the adjustable airflow for bottom venting cartomizers and tanks. You can control that by taking this silver ring here and unthreading it. The more you unthread it, the more airflow you'll get through these side vents here. You got 4 vents all the way around. There's slots along that ring. When we take that off, we get to the 510 base. The 510 base is adjustable in 2 different ways. You can adjust the 510 for connection to your atomizer by using the upper locking screw right here, which is the one of the larger diameter closer to the base of it. You see the second screw here that threads inside of that is for adjusting your battery rattle. Different length batteries, so you can shim those out so you get a nice tight fit while still keeping that short button throw. So that's pretty cool. I like all that. I'm going to pull out the battery here now and take off the firing button. The firing button also has the 4 slots that you found in the top ring for venting the battery in case something goes wrong. The button here is also adjustable throw. Just like on a Nemesis, you unthread that screw right there and you can get a longer throw on it. So the button will have to travel further. I usually keep it tightened up because I like a nice short throw on mine. And then the tube. The tube is not like the Nemesis in one respect that it does not have the vents out of the threads here for the locking ring. See, if we take a Nemesis and compare it side to side, you'll notice that the Nemesis is equipped with vent holes in this same threaded area. So I'm going to take my old Nemesis here, just to give you a quick shot of that. So the Nemesis has 4 holes all the way around the base there. The Stingray does not. Stingray has no holes around there. The Nemesis can also vent through the switch, and it does that by just having clearance between the threads and the button. So as you can see there, it is not at all a tight fit. There's plenty of gap there. And the reason air can flow past the switch is because they put these notches in the threads. And I'll give you a close-up of that too. There's 4 notches around the threads there. 1, 2, 3, 4. 90 degrees, you'll find those notches. So that means when it's threaded in, air can escape through those threads and out behind the gap of the button. However, on the Stingray clone, it does not have those notches. It is just solid threading all the way around. If we look at the tube, the notches are not in the tube either. It's just solid threading all the way around. So far we don't have vent holes in the locking ring threads. We don't have vent holes in the button threads, so air can't pass through the button. So these fancy slots for venting out of the back of the button are useless. Okay, so where does it vent from? Well, let's look at the 510 base. Well, there's definitely no air holes there. It's a solid piece of plastic that's threaded into it. Here, I'll pull out this screw completely so you can see. These screws aren't hollowed out in any way. The nylon beneath it, it doesn't have a pass-through hole, nothing like that. So when that's in there, it's in there. Nothing's going through. And that is the crucial flaw with the Stingray clones. There is no venting. Sure, it has the button that looks like it vents, but there's no way for air to pass through the button. So when I first noticed this, I couldn't believe it, really, that they'd basically rendered the venting useless by not adding those slots across the threads. I figured there had to be some kind of failsafe, or maybe it's separated in some way, but no, the button's one solid piece. We'll tear that apart too, just to get a look at that. I do like the spring in it, though. It's a nice strong spring. You can set it down without risk of firing it, even without the locking ring down. Of course, I don't recommend that. You should always use your locking ring. So inside the switch here, one piece at a time, the screw. The screw is not equipped with any holes, nothing to pass through. Just a solid piece. This is the cylinder, the threaded cylinder. You can see it is a solid piece as well. There's nothing, no way air is passing through that. That little slot in it right there, that's where the position ring goes, or I'm sorry, position rod, so it doesn't rotate on you. Solid piece, nowhere for air to go. And then of course here's the base and spring. You can see the alignment pin sitting right up in that slot. So that would fill in the slot on the other piece there, so air can't flow through there either. Now when I first saw all of this, I couldn't believe it, so I decided to just do a simple test. I thread on one half of the whole assembly together and try blowing into it. Now, as you probably can't hear, there's no air coming out. So there's a problem with venting there. I'm definitely not getting any airflow out of the top base here for the 510. So let's go ahead and try putting the button back together and see if I can get it to vent through there. Okay, button's back together. Gonna thread it in the side. I can go all the way in and then back out some, just to let you know I'm not closing it off. And we're gonna try blowing again. Nothing coming out of there. Tight as can be. So you see the major problem with the Stingray clones, at least mine that I've noticed. I'm not sure if this goes for all of them or just 26-650s or whoever manufactured this clone, but if you know anybody with a clone of a Stingray, please tell them to check this. And if you have an 18650 Stingray clone, please leave a comment and let me know if yours has the same problems. I'm really interested to know how many clones out there this affects. So real quick too, I figure we'll go over a quick fix for this, how we can make it so that this does have proper venting. I want to set mine up so it will vent out through the battery slot, so they're not just looking pretty down there, they'll actually have some functionality. And how I'm going to do this, instead of cutting slots down the threads like they do on the Nemesis, which most of us don't have the machinery available to do something that fine. Instead, what I'm going to be doing is just drilling some simple holes here in the button base here. So we're going to take our button apart again. And what I'm going to do is drill 2, maybe 4 holes in that center ring there. Let me point that out to you. So we're going to drill a couple holes right in here. And what happens then is when and if the battery ever vents, it'll be able to escape down through here and out the bottom side and effectively through the fancy little slots in the button. One thing we do want to make sure when we go to do this is that they're not directly over the spring, because if we put our holes right where the spring's going to sit, then it'll restrict that flow a little bit. Probably not much. Probably don't have to worry about it that much, but if we're going to do it, might as well do it right. Alright, so you can see what I decided to go with here. I just did one large hole, and this hole is a larger diameter than the diameter of the spring, so I know it's not going to cover it up and constrict that airflow. We're going to screw it all back together now and see how it vents. You could do it however you want. One big hole, a couple smaller ones. Doesn't really make a difference as long as when you put it all back together and test it, it is getting decent airflow. Also make sure if you got any burrs or any chips from drilling it out that you get those out of there. You don't want them in your button, getting your button all jacked up, crunchy, or even worse in your threads. Because if you mess up your threads, you know, there's no coming back from that. You got to go buy a new mod, or at least the parts that got stripped. So let's put this thing back together. We're going to thread it in all the way, and back out a couple, no tricks, and see how it vents. So as you can hear, that is definitely working better now. And actually, come to think of it, we'll do a little test here. Alright, so here's our test. What we're going to do, so I can visualize it for you, is just take a big puff here of some vapor and try blowing it through, and let's see how well it vents. So as you can see, that button is now working as it's supposed to. I can now vent through it. So if you do know anybody with a Stingray clone, please let them know about this. If you know any retailers selling them, have them check this. It's not hard to fix it. It takes one quick hole and you're done. And like this with all mods, anytime you get a new one, something new's on the market, just unthread each half of it and try blowing in it. See what happens. You know, it's a quick test. It could save you a finger in the future. So thanks again for tuning in to E-cig Vaping. That's all for today. Please like and subscribe. More in the future.